Hey guys, welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Gus.
I'm Ryan.
And we've all had some hands-on time with the Nintendo Switch now. So we thought that we'd have a little bit of a discussion about it. We don't have a podcast right now, but we still wanted to chat about our experience with it and what we think of the console, just in case those sorts of things interest you. I've probably had the most hands-on time with it. I took it home for the weekend. I was so happy.
Were you?
I was so smug.
So, I mean, it should be stated from the beginning that we only have one game to play with at the moment.
Yes, we only have Zelda, so there are a lot of things with the console that we couldn't try out, like the 1-2 Switch stuff. I tried that at RTX Sydney, but like we weren't able to actually test that sort of stuff with the hardware here.
Co-op, yeah.
Like no co-op. The network isn't up on the console yet, so we couldn't do the system update or connect to the eShop or anything like that. So there are some limitations. Also, we only have like basically the box, no additional peripherals or anything. So we don't have a Pro controller, which might be more comfortable for some people or anything like that. So we're just switch.
Just what's in the box.
Switch
Yeah.
out of the box with Zelda, which at this point I'm assuming that if you're buying a Switch, you're also buying Zelda.
Probably.
That seems to be the common thread is, well, it's the Zelda playing machine.
Yeah.
It's mainly what I've seen online when people are talking about, will you buy a Switch? It's like, well, that's where Zelda is.
It also seems to be the baseline against which a lot of other things will be measured. So we did some battery tests here as well, like charging it up and running it down and charging it up and running it down. And, with like, here's the brightness on this and here's the brightness on this. And it was always Zelda. And at least we had a control.
Which
that
is,
way.
I mean, it's going to be one of the more robust titles for this. Well, I hope it does. If we want to jump right into this, the performance on Zelda, again, traditionally, whenever someone asks me to talk about Nintendo, granted, I may have gotten
That's why we have you here,
a
Ryan.
negative stereotype surrounding me and my opinions on Nintendo, but I honestly went into this because I wanted to be as even-handed as possible. I'm not trying to bash Nintendo or compliment them. I just want to say what my impressions were.
Sure.
And my impressions with playing Zelda was it's a little underpowered, I think, to deliver on that game like they want it to be seen. Zelda itself is very pretty, but there's a lot of aliasing that goes on when you dock it. When you're playing it in 1080 mode, there's a lot of frame drops and there's a lot of aliasing. Aliasing, for anybody that's not familiar, we're talking about all those little jaggies that you see, especially on things in the distance. And on lighting effects.
I guess I should jump in by saying,
Yeah.
I spent the majority of I probably only played for about 3 hours. I spent the majority of my time playing in handheld mode.
Okay.
So I didn't, experience the
I
issue
tried
in
all
dock.
of them. Now, I will say, when you switched it to handheld mode, it's markedly better. It's a much more enjoyable experience, at least visually, in handheld mode, but it's running at a lower resolution on a smaller screen.
Right, it's running at 720p on the handheld screen as opposed to 900p on the TV screen. So just to be clear, it's not hitting 1080p.
Definitely its wheelhouse there. On the handheld screen looked far better. Now, granted, at a smaller screen, and when I was playing it in docked mode, I was still only playing it on a computer monitor of about a 24-inch monitor. If you were to throw that on a bigger screen, that's only going to exacerbate the issues with
I was playing it on like a 60-inch TV. So,
What'd
and
you
I could
think?
definitely see the jaggies, I could see the slowdown. I didn't get a ton of slowdown, like there was some, and every now and again I'd go, ooh, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the consistent experience for me. That said, I agree that it looks better in handheld mode. Zelda does, at least. And, just it's a smaller screen, so a lot of those issues are less obvious. But also, there are other things that I really enjoyed about playing something like Zelda in handheld where there are extra, features that work really well. You can do them not in handheld mode as well, because there are elements of, aiming in that game where it uses the motion controls. So I would use the joysticks to get close and then use the motion controls to just tweak it so I could get a nice headshot.
That took me a
And those
little
were pretty
getting
cool.
used to because I was trying to use the sticks to aim, and inadvertently I'd be moving the system, and then it would adjust how I was aiming in the game, and I had to really train myself, don't move the
Right.
console, and I approach it like you did. Use the sticks, get close, and then fine-tune and headshot by moving the actual system.
Which that's a feature you can turn on and off, at least in that game. But yeah, I mean, I will say the motion control felt really good. It has no external motion detection so it's not
just
like it's
gyroscopic.
looking at it in space. It's all gyroscopic. So in the future, I'm not sure what they'll do to take the place of translational tracking, or if they just have completely abandoned that. But yeah, the motion control felt good.
I will say, so I played, like I said, I played most of my time in handheld mode, and I think the biggest complaint I had is I think my hands are too big for this. Like
I agree.
I felt like this console's very thin, and I felt like I wish it was just a little bit thicker for my hand to have something to grab onto. Also, I felt like I had to adjust my hands constantly when switching from pad to button, and I have to like look and pause and move my hand a little bit to get between the different button placement. I had a better time playing with the Joy-Con controller as opposed to putting the controllers on here, just because you can see it's a bit thicker.
And to
It is
its
a little bit.
credit, honestly, it's really easy to switch between modes.
Sorta, yeah. I will say that on yanking the power or the controllers out of this, the button for releasing, I think it's the blue one.
Yep.
The left controller is very close if you're trying to finagle your hand around it to the power button on the console. It's very easy to hit the
Oh, I
power
see.
button by
I
accident
see.
while trying to extricate
Power
that
button's
one.
up top.
Right, because the
Yeah.
power button is on the top, but they are located adjacent.
Yeah. I have sort of a similar issue with you, is my hands are just a bit big, I think, for this console.
Yeah, hold on.
So yeah,
Okay,
I think Gus and I
Yeah.
are probably roughly the same.
I'm a child. So I have small hands, even for an adult, and for me it was perfectly comfortable. I had no issues whatsoever with it in handheld mode or with those controllers like that. Now you said you actually got used to playing. You didn't even put the Joy-Cons into this. You just added those, right?
I tried it every way imaginable. Well, so let me just run down them real quick. Okay, so on top, or when connecting to the actual screen, I was like, I'll get the full experience. So I just kicked back in our beanbag chair and played it kind of like this, or kind of this range of motion. I will say that after a while, the weight of it kind of started, and how you have to hold it in your hand to keep it in a playable zone, started to kind of dig into the inside of my hands. Just that's
Okay.
kind of to be expected. It's a little heavy, and you have to support that weight somewhere, and that's where you're going to be supporting the weight, is right in the middle of your hand. So if you have a pressure point there, you're not going to love it. When in the Joy-Con controller, for me, it's just a little cramp-inducing because of my hand size. So
Yeah,
it felt a little kind of.
yeah, is this narrower than most controllers
Well,
once it's
we've got-
assembled?
It's roughly the same size, honestly. Only it's just that it's
It's a little small. I mean, I think that's significant.
It's smaller.
It's
also,
smaller, yeah.
It's
It's
rough.
also
It's a little
different
smaller.
form factor because it's taller.
Yeah, and it's a little taller, and it doesn't extend out this way as much. It's definitely smaller than the PlayStation. If you look at just the width of it, my hands are kind of blocking it. It's hard to hold it in such a way that you can see it, but there you go. So it's just, honestly, these extensions that both the Xbox and the PlayStation have that come down and nestle a little bit past.
Maybe they're a little bit more ergonomic because they're made for a slant.
Well, it's almost the same issue. So if you're holding this in your hand, that little tail gets down to the bottom of your hand, whereas this one ends up nestled in that little crook again. It's like they're targeting the middle of your, well, at least for people with hands my size, they're really hitting the middle of my hand on every position I can hold these. Now,
Because when I hold it, look where it hits.
yeah, that's more like where it would hit for any other controller with me. Now, I will say that one thing I was surprised about was when you put these on, I didn't
Thank
think...
you for not pulling a Bernie on this one.
He put them in backwards?
He did. He did. Right out of the box, the first thing he did was break one of the Joy-Cons. We fixed it. We got it off eventually, but I was worried for a while.
Well, and I don't know if it was because it was broken at one point or not, but I had a devil of a time. I got these on very easily, but they've got this little lock mechanism here at the bottom. I had a devil of a time getting them back off.
A devil, you
A
said.
devil. I had to beat the devil out of it. In fact, it's like locked in place again. So there we go. Okay.
So far of all the hardware feels really easy to switch around. I feel like the Switch
Well,
unit.
there we go. Like right there.
God damn it. The Switch unit drops into the dock pretty well.
Yep.
I feel like the controllers drop onto the Joy-Cons drop onto either the Switch unit or onto this really smoothly. They also like come back off.
This is the exception.
Yes.
Like,
that is
get that
just
off.
it seems like the least carefully engineered part of the Switch.
Now, maybe it's because it was broken, but yeah, it's really difficult.
I don't
not
think it
to
is. I
mess
think
with.
it's just like that.
Now, I will say, I didn't expect it, but playing with these just like this, even in Zelda, which is a pretty, it's an action game, I thought that was going to be a problem. It was maybe the most comfortable way to play with it.
I played with this briefly. I did not add these when I played. I just played with,
God, yeah. No, you
with
gotta.
these in my hand, and I felt like it was uncomfortable.
Like too small, maybe?
Like,
Extra little half-inch really makes a big difference in it nestling into your hand. And
yeah, I can see. Yeah.
even then, it's still tucked in a corner, but you can kind of avoid it a little bit. You can work your
So-
hand around it a little bit, so it's
So that's
not.
like the lazy Wiimote version of,
It really
of playing.
is.
You know, when everyone would sit down and do the motion controls like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's like this version of that for the Switch.
The only thing I'm not sure about is what happens when this goes into motion control mode. I didn't actually try that, so I don't know if it's like this one, both of them. But at least for if you just want to if you have big hands and you just want to go, this actually works shockingly well.
I will say I was not a fan of playing it that way, but I didn't have the little black extension on it, so maybe it would have been better with that.
What's kind of cool though is the number of different ways you can configure stuff to play it. And that was one thing that I really enjoyed was I did at one point I was playing on the TV and we had to go somewhere, and so I just picked it up. Like I dropped the controller or the Joy-Cons in, picked it up, and walked out the door. And it was a really cool experience.
It did all that pretty flawlessly. I did have one instance where I dropped it in the dock, and it popped up in 480, 640 by 480
Really?
on the
Whoa.
TV. Yeah.
That's weird.
Now it could be
And
granted. My situation is a little different from most average people using it because
I'm gonna grab the dock.
you grab the dock because I was dropping it in a setup that's also going through an Elgato, so it could be there's some negotiation there.
Like the
where
handshake wasn't quite complete.
and all I did was I picked it back up and put it back down, and then I got 1080.
Okay.
But yeah, my initial drop in, it did not go well.
And honestly, speaking of the dock, and since Gus is bringing it here, the other part of the thing that I wish were a little bit better engineered or had a better experience is the dock itself.
So the dock is essentially just like a glorified power and HDMI cable.
Yeah.
You just put your cables in there, run it through this little cable management, and then the dock slides in and out. You can see there's I don't know if you can see it. There's USB port down there.
Yeah, and the dock looks fine and everything, but it's kind of light.
It's very light.
I almost wish it were weighted more in the bottom so I didn't worry about it tipping over.
Yeah.
Because there's just not a lot of heft to it.
It is not substantial at all. It is
No, where the-
exactly what looks like a light piece of plastic.
Right, like where the Switch is actually like, this feels pretty good. This feels kind of like light and flimsy and
I didn't notice
less
this
awesome.
when I was messing around with this the other day. Like I said, mostly I played in handheld mode. But there's 2 USB ports on the side of the dock.
And there's one in there too.
yeah, in the back here.
Oh yeah, there's a USB port in there. USB 3.
We don't know why yet.
Future
It might
expansion,
be,
maybe.
maybe future expansion. Maybe eventually they'll add media playback, like thumb drives or external hard drive support or something. Because one of the other issues is that it does only have 32 gigabytes of onboard memory, and if you are a digital gamer, I'm digital. I download most stuff these days. You need a micro SD card, which is an additional investment.
It's right there. I'm also not a fan of the layout of this micro SD card. It's inside where the kickstand is. I feel like
Yeah.
I might accidentally eject it. I have not used a
get
micro
crap
SD card.
crammed in there.
Right.
No.
So I wish that it was a separate cover for the micro SD card.
Now, one thing that I didn't realize about this kickstand at first, I tried kickstand mode, by the way, and this is definitely if you're out and you're somewhere and you've got the Joy-Cons plugged in and you want to do multiplayer, you can do it. Not a great experience because this, when you get down to it, is a very, very tiny TV.
Yeah.
And so you need to stay quite close. But one cool thing about the kickstand that I didn't realize when opening it, because this looks and feels kind of shitty, but it's because of this. It's actually designed to pop off without damaging it.
Okay.
You kind of blew my mind. I was really worried about breaking it because it did feel pretty
Yeah.
flimsy.
That's what the second we pulled it out of the box for the deboxinating, I was like, this is gonna get broken.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's designed.
You see that?
It's designed with that in mind.
magnet? What's the
It's very
attach-
Nintendo. Like
what's
they're
attaching
planning
it?
on kids
There's a,
messing
it's just
this
like
whole
a screw
thing
and a
up.
spring, or like the little.
How do you put it back on?
It just snaps back in place. It's this little bit here just snaps in.
Oh, nice.
That's
All right.
interesting. Yeah.
So that's
I will,
nice.
I will say, going back to the memory for a second, if you want this to be taken seriously as a console, launching it with 32 gigs, which is just not sufficient for a console release. This is, in my classification, I would say that if you're going for a handheld device and that's it, you nailed it. I mean, okay, 32 gigs. Typically, your handheld games are smaller, but if you're going for a console that wants to be played on a screen, when Xbox One came out with 512, there was an uproar because that's just not
Pretty low.
enough.
But
So,
it would be taking up 13 gigabytes.
Oh, it
of
is
the
13?
30, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Breath of
Yeah.
the Wild is 13 gigabytes, so it'd be taking up that of the 32.
So already almost half. So it's 32, but we don't
You
we didn't
get
count like.
access to 26
That's
of it.
what I was gonna ask.
Right.
So yeah, it's taking up half of your available memory.
I went and immediately bought.
And SSD.
Yeah, I bought a
Sorry.
128 gig micro SD card.
Well, now
Because that's it
something
seems like that's the sweet spot for price right now.
Well, what we need to check, because as I understand it, what happens when you insert an SD card is it now offloads all of the game data to the SD card, and there's no way to put it on the onboard NAND.
You can manage some things like right now. There's no SD card plugged into this. We can plug the SD card in and move over things like users and save games.
Okay, so it does actually let you
So
select
yeah, there's
things?
if you go like when you go into the menu in here, there is an option to manage where stuff is stored.
Okay.
Like so you can move them back and forth.
So I have, when they announced it and when they had their big reveal earlier this year, I pre-ordered it from Target because I forgot it was like the last place available. But yeah, I think I'm happy with it. I'll keep my pre-order, and I think I'll play with it. I'm most excited about taking it on planes and traveling, and using the kickstand on the tray table. Like I think when I saw that in the video, it's like, okay, I get it. Like that's something that's actually really interesting to me.
Same. I'm gonna pick it up day one. I acknowledge that it doesn't have the biggest launch library of games. It's limited, but I'm looking forward to Snipperclips. I think that's gonna be a good launch title. Fast RMX reminds me a lot of F-Zero for the GameCube, which I'm really into. I'm loving my experience with Zelda so far. So there are enough games there, and I'm kind of a sucker for early adoption on hardware anyway. Like I'll be that early adopter guy who will like pay the money for the version before they do the super cute colors. So I'm
I
gonna.
forgot about super cute colors.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know that they're gonna sell. The reason that this is neon red and not red is because they're gonna do a Mario and Luigi version. They're gonna do Pokemon versions. They're gonna release all kinds of special edition Joy-Cons.
Is there just a regular like gray or black version? 'Cause
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I don't love the red and blue.
Yeah, there's so you can buy sets of Joy-Cons separately. So you can buy.
You can buy an additional set of
No,
Joy-Cons.
there's two different hardware bundles. One comes with the neon controllers. The other one comes with gray. Yeah.
But then you can also like buy like other ones if you want.
Gotcha.
So there will be there's a big future in limited edition Joy-Cons, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with it. I'm okay. It's on the expensive side when I look at it's $300 for what is at the moment a Zelda machine. But I also like what's coming down the pipe, and I can't wait. Frankly, I can't wait for Stardew Valley to come out on this in the summer.
Why? You've already played the heck out of
Yeah, I'm
Stardew
gonna
Valley.
play it again. But wherever I go.
Sure, on the move. I will also say that the UI on it is not great so far.
Okay, you had
throw that out
issues
there.
with deleting and adding a user, right?
Well,
Yeah. Thanks for deleting my save, by the way.
you're welcome. It's pretty stripped down. There's really not a lot you can do with it right now. Now, maybe that's partially because it's not completely online yet. But yeah, even things like, okay, I want to add a new user. I went to the users. There were 8 users already. All right, I don't see an option to add a new user, so I just deleted one.
Me.
Well, to be fair, you were Adam, so that's kind of on you.
Because I didn't delete a user. I went in. I was like, oh, the users are full. You can only have a maximum of 8 users.
So you were really there. You were just deleting. You wanted to delete Adam. You just
Well,
made a mistake. You missed.
I mean, I thought Adam. I was like, I got to delete somebody, and Adam doesn't work in the No office, so chances are he was
That's
the
why
safe
I
bet.
overwrote his save. That's
There
why I
you
used his
go.
profile and overwrote his
See?
save. Yeah.
Same
yeah.
thought. But anyway, so I deleted him because I figured, okay, maybe I didn't know that was a hard limit of 8. Maybe once I delete one, it'll show the option. It did not. I go back. There's just 7 profiles. You have to actually hit like the down arrow on the little D-pad thing to get it to show that option. But there's no on-screen prompt that says, "Hey, if you want to add a new user, go here." It's simple stuff like that where. I mean, there's not that much to the UI. You'd think that of the few things that it is capable of doing, they would at least show you how to do
I would
those
be
things.
curious to see if there were no users. Like if they assume you already learned how to do it from adding the first
Maybe
user.
so. But why, if you went to that screen and there were no users,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it prompts you to add a user
well, I would hope
if there's no users yet.
it better
'Cause,
do something
I mean,
other than just like,
when we did first time setup, it immediately prompted me to add a user,
Okay.
and then I was on there.
The 8 user profiles is also kind of a weird limit.
it
Not
is
that I would think you would need more than 8, but why?
Yeah, one thing that I think is worth noting about this as well is Nintendo is trying to treat it like a console, but
Except for
I-
the hardware.
like my connection to this so far is very much erring on the side like the possessiveness of a handheld. Like this may be a console, but I don't want anyone else touching it.
Right. This is mine.
Is my Switch. Yeah.
By the way, that is the maximum volume of the speakers on this.
Yeah.
That's as high as it goes.
Not super loud.
Not
It is
super
not.
loud. Although
Even-
I haven't had a problem hearing it in game yet.
I will say that it sounded okay, but if I were if I was in an environment that had any kind of ambient noise,
Well, if
Especially
I
because
was
some of the
need
games require,
headphones.
like the quick draw one, you need to listen to it for it to say fire for when you play.
Yeah. Although for the most part, if I'm playing a game in a public place where there's a lot of noise, I'm going to have headphones in.
That's true.
And it does have the headphone jack.
But I will
It's
say
weird that the headphone
there-
jack's in the top.
I will say their announcement video definitely showed it being played at parties very frequently and amongst gatherings, groups of people. So in that
Yeah.
scenario, that might be too
That's
quiet.
true.
here's your actual speakers are back here. But yeah, I mean that's as far as we've been able to play with it. There's going to be a lot more information once there's more games to be had.
Yeah, once we can get it online.
Yeah. So you're keeping your pre-order.
I'll keep my
You're
pre-order,
buy.
yeah.
I'm buy. How are you feeling about it? You going to wait or are you just going to skip it?
I mean, until I have a compelling reason, like maybe if there's a bunch of see, even my kids, it's like they already have Fire tablets that have games on them. They're too young really to appreciate things like Zelda. I think this is just not
Not for you.
not for me.
Yeah, it's. I know. I was talking to Eddie, who has 2 daughters, and he was saying that he's now getting very excited because they were watching Moana on the TV constantly over the weekend, and he was sad because if only it had been 1 week later, he would have been able to play Switch without
Yeah.
having to have the TV.
Uh-huh.
He would have been able to just like take a console
pick
game
it
and
up
still
and-
play it, which is great.
The inside of the dock, like where it receives the Switch, it looks like a happy little robot. Like his little
It does look like
eyes.
it's going like this.
and
It's going like this. Nah.
yeah, it's
like the
give me your
bad
Switch.
robot robot.
I'm gonna eat it.
Okay, well, that's our impressions of the hardware based on all our different perspectives. Let us know if you're planning on picking up a Switch, waiting for either a price drop or a system-selling game for you if Zelda is not really your bag, or if you're just going to skip it entirely.
By the way, if you really wanted to, you could just Hulk rage and snap this thing. And
don't snap
it's-
it.
You could.
I'm not saying I'm going to, but these are not on there in such a way that you couldn't just go and be holding $300 worth of junk.
Well,
Or if you sat on it.
the thing is, there's a lot of those are going to break, and I'll be very curious to see like where the engineered fail points
Did you
are.
hear it?
Yeah.
Like
Did it,
cry
chirped
out,
at you.
no.
Don't put me in your pocket. I won't fit.
I don't know what that was. All right.
And we're actually doing a mega stream on Friday for launch day. So we'll be playing a whole bunch of Zelda and some other games like Snipper Clips and Spectre of Torment and I think in Fast RMX. And so we'll be playing a bunch of those, and you can join us on the No YouTube channel.
Bye.
Bye.